Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa, Dravida Prabhu, Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa, Dravida Prabhu, Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. So it looks like we'll be on page 290 tonight. 290. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this first day, is it the first day? I know it's Tuesday. On this first day of October. All right, I'm going to stop that one, start over again. Okay, on this first day of October 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are still in chapter 6 entitled Dhyana Yoga. We're on text 37 at the top of page 290. Arjuna Vacha Ayati Shandayopeto Yoga Chalitamanasaha Aprapa Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gacchati. Arjuna Vacha Ayati Shandayopeto Yoga Chalitamanasaha Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam Gatim Krishna Gacchati. Arjuna Vacha Ayati Shandayopeto Yoga Chalitamanasaha Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim Kam gatim Krishna gacchati. 290, page 290. Go ahead. Arjuna Vacha. Hayati Shaddayo Peto. Yogat Chalita Manasa. Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim. Kangatim Krishna Gacchati. Go ahead now. Arjuna Vacha. Hayati Shaddayo Peto. Yogat Chalita Manasa. Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim. Kam Gatim Krishna Gacchati. A straight. Arjuna Vacha. Ayati Shadhayo Peto. Yogat Chalita Manasaha. Aprapya Yoga Samsiddhim. Kam Gatim Krishna Gacchati. You want to try? No? Okay. Anyone else? All right. I'll read the synonyms. You can read along. Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna said, Ayati, the unsuccessful transcendentalist, Shraddhaya, with faith, Upetaha, engaged, Yogat, from the mystic link, Chalita, deviated, Manasa, who has such a mind, Aprapya, failing to attain, Yoga Samsiddhim, the highest perfection in mysticism, Kam, which, Gatim, destination, Krishna, O Krishna, Gacchati, achieves. Translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist, who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness, and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Purport. The path of self-realization or mysticism is described in the Bhagavad Gita. The basic principle of self-realization is knowledge that the living entity is not this material body, but that he is different from it, and that his happiness is an eternal life, bliss and knowledge. These are transcendental, beyond both body and mind. Self-realization is sought by the path of knowledge, by the practice of the Eightfold Mysticism, or by Bhakti Yoga. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can re-establish the lost link and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above-mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. This was asserted by the Lord in the second chapter. Even a little endeavor on the transcendental path offers a great hope for deliverance. Out of these three methods, the path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this age because it is the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. One may sincerely accept the path of self-realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and the practice of the Eightfold Yoga system are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not be sufficiently serious about following the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusory energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material energy, and there is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. This is called Yogat Chalita Manasa, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self-realization. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, what's happening here? Krishna has described the process of yoga, dhyana yoga, eightfold mysticism. And he's highly praised it. And if you recall, I love this section from 20 to 23, where he describes the state of perfection and success, and it's very attractive. He says, this perfection is characterized, this is samadhi, when one is fully absorbed in meditation on the supersoul within. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self, that's the super self, in the heart, by the pure mind, and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness. That sounds pretty good. Realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, that person thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Certainly sounds like something worth striving for. And then Krishna describes the process, how to sit and where to sit, and what even the seat, and pranayama and so forth. But after all that description, Arjuna is not very hopeful. He says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi balabhadraham. The mind, because after all you're working with the mind, trying to fix it on the super soul within the heart, which is Krishna. He says it's like trying to control the wind. I don't think I can do it. He said basically, I can't do it. So then Krishna says, you can do it. He says in text 35, O mighty armed son of Kunti, he's appealing, he's mighty armed, it means he's qualified. It's undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives to by appropriate means is assured of success. That's my opinion. And then we had today's verse, where Arjuna is saying, okay, I'm not going to argue with you, but what happens if you're unsuccessful? In other words, everyone can't be successful if one is unsuccessful. In other words, you become deviated, and he says here, in the next verse, he'll compare it to a riven cloud. In other words, just scattered in the sky, has no real identity, and because you've already committed to giving up everything and going alone to the forest or the caves in the mountains somewhere, and you failed. So now what? I don't have I've already renounced my other life, my material life, that's gone. And now I've failed in this life, so I got no standing. I'm just a failure. This is what he's saying. He's worried. And he'll express that in the next verse. So this is Arjuna is really giving us a good assessment of the possibility of a success in the Ashtanga Yoga practice. Even today, I heard this, every 12 years there's a big Kumbh Mela. There's a Mela there every year in Allahabad, in Prayag, in India, where the Ganges and the Yamuna meet. And every 12 years is a huge one. And every 144 years is a really big one. And that happened in 1977. I was just reading that Prabhupada attended that. This was in January of 77. This is the year that he actually departed. But he wanted to, go there and bring his devotees for preaching and so forth. So they just had one a few years ago, I think a 12-year. And it was like, 60 million. It used to be 20 million was big. Now 60 million people come. And it's like it's more than a big city. It's bigger than any city. So they have the army is there, they have roads, they have a postal system and everything. It's a little. So during that time, I read this once, believe it or not, I think it was in the National Geographic. They had a special on that. They had a picture of a lady on the front, an attendee, and she had all these tattoos on her of Ram's name. Ram. She's a young lady. And anyway, what I heard, I think Prabhupada tells the story, how at that time, these yogis, serious yogis, they come down from the Himalayas. It's not that far, And these are called the Nagababas. They don't have any clothes on. And they're serious yogis. And when the first time he took his devotees there, it was like, early 70s. I think twice or three times they attended. And he said, whatever you do, don't look them in the eye, because they're very powerful. They have cities, and if they feel challenged by you, so you just give them all deference, let them walk, So there's different groups. There's different, because they're all over. They come down by the hundreds, maybe thousands. I don't know. And but then there's the question: who's going to get to bathe first in that confluence? There's millions of people. Obviously, there has to be a hierarchy, because that's the most auspicious time. The time is like calculated to the second. So there's one time that's really auspicious, and then you get liberation, which is what. So what I heard, I forget where I heard it, but I believe it, is that there's different groups of them, and there was actually like a pitched battle going on amongst the Nagabhavas, not the people in general. They're giving them a wide berth. Who's gonna get into the water at the precise time? And of course, the army is there separating them and so forth. But can you imagine? I mean, they got mystic powers. They may be throwing some mystic, who knows what, javelins. I don't know. So what does that show? Now the devotees who go there, they don't go there in order to get liberation. This is the first thing to understand. That what causes people to come? Why do they come? Well, they want to get liberation. It's such a valuable thing to end the cycle of birth and death. And they hope that by bathing at the right time or just being there, they'll move closer to it or achieve it. The devotees go. Prabhupada went there. He made it very clear: we're not here to get liberation. We're here to chant Hare Krishna, give books out, and distribute prasad. The huge cooking thing going on. You can imagine. You can read about it in the Lilamrita. And because the devotees are already liberated. Bhakti is, Lord Chaitanya taught us in his Shikshastika how to pray, what to pray for. The whole thing, the Shikshastika is about the holy name. The first verse describes the 7 benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. Beginning with the first line tells you about liberation. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. What that line says is that by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, especially in congregation, one polishes the mirror of the mind. In other words, the purification is very powerful. And it's those impurities of attraction for this world and lust, anger, greed, all of these things we've accumulated over many births, that is keeping us bound to this world. So when that heart is being polished, being cleansed, the consciousness is being cleansed very powerfully, then the blazing fire of material life is extinguished. That's just the first line of the benefits. Then it describes how good fortune awakens. It's all very poetic. 7 metaphors. The third metaphor is how the white lotus of good fortune is caused to blossom by the soothing moonlight of the chanting of the holy name. Shreya Kaidava Chandrika Vatadanam. Chandrika is moonshine, the full moon. And so it's spreading the rays of the benediction moon, how Prabhupada put it in his translation. So what does that mean? That means that your life automatically becomes fortunate. Good fortune is raining down on you. You don't even know how much. And both for your own life and for those when you go out and spread the holy name. It's a very public thing. And vidyavadu jivanam, the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. What that means is that the knowledge is already in there. We've buried it. We all know so many things that we learned and then we've forgotten. The mind is like that, a material mind. So the original knowledge of Krishna and a relation with Krishna, it's all there, but it's been forgotten. But this chanting begins to awaken that. And that's why it feels so right. And that's why it feels that such relief, really, when you take the Krishna consciousness. And so that goes on. And then Anandam Buddhivardhanam. The ocean of bliss is widening, it's flooding its banks, and at every step in your life you can taste this bliss. If you're serious in chanting, you become purified and you practice bhakti yoga. So that's way beyond liberation. Liberation is a byproduct, you see. So Lord Chaitanya describes nadanang nadanang nasundarim, but it has to be pure devotion, and that means only for the development of love for Krishna. That's the idea. Anyabhilashita shunyam. Shunyam means devoid of any other desire, but serving Krishna favorably. We already love Krishna, but we've forgotten it. So we just have to awaken that by hearing and chanting about Him, by serving Him, and by refraining from those things which deviate the mind and keep us contaminated.
It's a science. It actually works. So, now, Krishna hasn't been speaking about that. He's been speaking about this kind of artificial process. You know, the idea is the same, to focus the mind on the absolute and to give up entanglement in the material world. The two sides are there. But this is a very difficult process for this age. But the end result has to be the same, as we read in 20 to 23, to enjoy transcendental happiness through transcendental senses, to think that there could be no greater gain, and to be completely tolerant of any material misery because you're absorbed in Krishna. That's what he's describing in 20 to 23. But it's possible for us, even in the middle of this city, even, you know, coming from all different kind of backgrounds, to practice Krishna consciousness. We should have that faith. So, let's just go through this purport. It's actually very rich. Basic principle of self-realization is knowledge that the living entity is not the material body, but he's different from it, and that his happiness is an eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. So that's the first step. We're so used to identifying with the material body. We've been through so many different bodies, human bodies and other bodies, and in each and every one of them, we've totally identified with that body. Now I'm a dog. That's who I am. That's my body. You know, and you act like a dog. In the lower forms, no, it's not an earthquake. What is it? Is it this? Oh, it's a motorcycle out in this lot. Hare Krishna. I thought someone slipped on the fan. We have a big fan in there. Okay, we'll tolerate. You never know. I mean, we had several little ones recently, right? I'm sitting at my desk and suddenly, I walk outside and I ask the neighbor, "Did you feel that?" "No, I didn't feel anything." It was up in Joshua Tree somewhere. Anyway, that's material life. You never know. So, where was I? See? This is a problem in the material world. You get distracted in my brain. Okay. The basic principle. So this is a very important statement here. We've identified with all of these different bodies in all of these different lifetimes. This is the first understanding. As soon as you believe that, as soon as you understand it, it should change your whole perspective in life. What's important? What am I striving for? If I'm just striving for something that's limited to this body, then it's shrama is this phrase. You can learn it tonight. Shrama eva hi kevalam. Shrama means hard work. Eva means certainly. Kevalam means only. In other words, you're working very hard, and the only result is the work itself. You're not really achieving anything. In other words, it's like the hamster, you know, but he's not getting anywhere. You're not getting anywhere to try to just strive for material things because it's all bound to the body. Suppose you make some fame, money, celebrity, whatever you have, you know, accoutrements for sense gratification, but it's all bound by time. Eventually the time runs out on this body and all of that stuff is left behind and you're on to your next body. So what did you achieve? Nada. It's a big distraction. So Krishna, at the beginning of the Gita, he immediately gives us this essential knowledge. You know, dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovanam. It's very wonderful verse because anyone can understand. You can say, okay, let's just do a thought experiment. Now, take yourselves back to when we were 10 years old. I mean, everyone can remember some things when you were 10 years old. Okay, I remember, you know. There was a period, actually, when I was 12 years old, when I became completely obsessed with baseball cards. That was my life that summer. And how did I accumulate baseball cards? By flipping them. I became very expert. And so at the end I had a full set of baseball cards. I had no friends because I had taken all their cards. This is where I was at. So I'm remembering now. And then I had this full set of baseball cards from 1958 or something. And I carefully kept it through my whole high school years, you know, through the 1960s. And it would have been worth like $50,000 or $60,000. But when I went to college for a few months, my father cleaned out the room and he threw the whole thing away. So what did I really gain? But the point was, I can remember that time. I had a different body, had a different mind, different mindset. Krishna wasn't even on the radar anywhere. So what happened? I had a different body, a different mind, but I'm the same person now. What is that? 59 years later, I'm the same person, but everything has changed. The body has changed, the mind has changed, right? What hasn't changed? The soul. the Atma. So Krishna uses this analogy, just as the soul passes through different bodies, childhood, youth, adolescent, prime, your prime, 20, 28 or whatever, middle age on, and finally old age. Similarly, the soul passes into another body at death, when the body becomes no longer, it's just a big machine. Eventually it runs out, it wears out, no matter what you do. So then, what's the difficulty in understanding? We've already reincarnated in this body through different bodies. We think, because it's like, it compares it to the movie, they're actually, of course now, I don't know what they do, but in the old days they had a physical film, and they move it so fast that it looks like it's moving. But if it gets stuck, I remember, it would get stuck sometimes, boom, you just see one picture. Oh, okay, it's just an illusion. So it's an illusion that we're the same person. We're actually, it's not an illusion we're the same person, it's an illusion that we have the same body. Our body is completely changed from like 20 years ago, 30 years, certainly those of us who are older. You don't want it to change, but it still changes. So that's the first thing. And it should widen your horizons. Like I have this little ditty that I worked out. Every body dies. Now, you have to know pronunciation. If you look up in the dictionary, the word everybody, it's not pronounced everybody. It's pronounced everybody. Okay? Look it up. Look it up. It's everybody. Now, but if you're going to have two words, it'll be everybody. Right? So that's very, you have to, everybody dies, nobody dies. Nobody, that means the soul doesn't die. Everybody dies, nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. The whole thing in a nutshell. But that awakening is the first step. Because it means, I don't want to waste my time just working for material things. And then have it, and what about all those things I'm doing that are against the rules? There's a government, there's conscious beings like the super soul is watching everything. There are laws. If I violate the laws, I have to suffer. We know that, simply if you eat too much, you suffer, right? But then I remember the Sunday feast. In the Sunday feast in Brooklyn, we had all these cooks, incredible cooks. And I was helpless, So I would eat, and then I had this thing for ladus. I didn't care. All these guests, they left their ladus, I would collect those ladus. I would stuff myself. I'd lie in the bunk, actually in my sleeping bag. And of course, at that point, it's Sunday night, never again. Never again, Next Sunday rolls around, So there, I'm feeling the karma. That's what karma is, and it goes over to different lifetimes. Now, because it's prasadam, it was purifying. Eventually, I came to the point. I've had my quota of halva in this lifetime. I had huge quantities of halva for years, and I actually was a little heavy. I was up to like 170, like that. Now I'm back to. So, but now I don't have any halva, even a spoonful of halva. This is not on the menu. But the point is that we're going through this body, we're the same person, we're the soul, and understanding that we're going to reincarnate, then the question is, well, how can I get the best next body? Some people think, I don't want any kind of body, because body means birth, death, old age, and disease. But you have to have a body, because we have a spiritual body. In other words, just having no consciousness and no sense of personality and no movement and nothing, that's not perfection. That's what the impersonalists think. They conflate having a body with having a material body. But that's not true. We all have a spiritual body. It's buried under there. And Krishna consciousness is meant to awaken that spiritual body. We can live eternally in that spiritual body because it's perfectly suited for our specific way, custom-made way that we like to serve Krishna. And in that body, whatever it may be, a coward boy, a coward girl, even a cow, we can serve Krishna eternally, be fully conscious, and be totally blissful and satisfied. That's the promise of bhakti. And it's coming down through all of these, the parampara. It's not just somebody's fantasy. These are things that have been realized by great acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and his forebears, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all the way back. This world is like a phantasmagoria. It's not what it seems. But that world is real. This much more than this world. This world is real, but it's not what we think it is. Just like a dream. When you're having a dream, suppose it's a nightmare, okay? We have nightmares. So, it's very real at the time. You could be sweating, you could wake up screaming, right? Your heart's beating like anything. And then you realize, oh, God, it's just a dream, thank God, right? So, similarly, this world seems really, really real, doesn't it? But it's not. Not on the level that we take it. We take it to be the world. This is the most important thing. But Krishna consciousness teaches us that we have to understand this world for what it is. It's a reflection, or what we call a perverted or distorted reflection of the real world and the spiritual world. That's there in the 15th chapter, right at the beginning. It describes an upside down tree, a banyan tree, very complicated. Have you seen one of those banyan trees? It's almost like a forest in itself. It's upside down, the root is up. How can that be? Prabhupada describes, if you're standing on the bank of a lake that's very calm, and on the other bank, just across from you, there's a tree growing on the bank there. So you look and you see the reflection in the lake itself. You see? So the root is up, right? And the top of the tree is down. So that's what this world is. And that's why the greatest pleasure in this world, illicit sex, that adventure, is the lowest thing. But in Krishna's world, it's the highest. The highest, most pure devotion is by the gopis, who are ready to give up their honor, their morality, everything, and run out into the forest out of pure love for Krishna. Meaning, they're passionate to serve him, to please him. That's why they run out. It's different than lust. It's pure love. It's prema. Prema is the ardent desire to please Krishna's senses. Lust is the ardent desire to please your own senses. See the difference? Atmendriya Prativancha, 6 verses. So that's the essence of what we're practicing here. That's why all this bowing down and honoring, glorifying, because we want to reestablish that connection to Krishna, which is natural for us, which we've lost. We've forgotten it. We're connected to Krishna, but through his energy, through his external energy. And that just brings suffering. Because we're looking for that place of eternal happiness and eternal life, and you can't find it here. It's not here. We're looking in the wrong place. But we can use this material body and the material mind and the material world and the energy to connect to Krishna. The description is like, if you eat too much sweet rice, you can get an indigestion. So you can cure it with yogurt. There's a preparation made. So you got sick by some milk, another milk preparation cures it. Or you can take a splinter. I like to tell this story. Have you heard, I used to run around on we had a wooden floor in my apartment. And as a kid, I was restless. I would run around. I'd get splinters. So my mother, she had a sewing box. She didn't have a sewing machine. She had a box with, various needles and thread and colored thread and stuff. I said, Mom, can I borrow your sewing box? I said, okay. So I knew where it was by then. So I took it down, I opened it up, took out my needle, and I dug in there. You do it in a certain way, it doesn't hurt. So I got the needle, get the splinter out, gone, and I start running around again. So the needle is nothing but a splinter. It's just made out of steel. So you take one splinter to get the other splinter out, then you discard both of them. I put the needle back in the box. So that's the idea. This body and mind and this world is actually like a prison house for us. And it's designed to keep us bewildered. But when we get the knowledge of how to use this world in the proper way, then those very energy of Krishna's gives us facility for reconnected to him and getting out of this world. Think of the sound. Sound can be very contaminating, polluting, confusing, right? There's millions of sounds, right, that are just kukata. There's a verse about kukata. Who gets to go to the Vaikuntha? So this is the verse about who doesn't get to go. This is by Lord Brahma in the third canon. Yanna Vajan Agabador Vachananuvada Chinmandihenya Vishaya Kukata Matigni Yastushita Hatabagar Nibarata Saras Tang Tang Chapancha Sadaneshu Tamaksohanta. This is why the Bhagavatam is really our shelter. There's beautiful expressions that if you get into them, so much knowledge is there. So what is Brahma saying here? Yanna Vrajanti. Vrajanti means to go. Here's the people who don't go to the spiritual world. Agabhida. Agabhida is a name for Krishna, means he who destroys sin. He who destroys your sin. Agabhida. Agabhida is sin. Like Agasra is a sinful demon. So it's a name for Krishna. Richananovadat. Words that describe the activities, lila, pastimes, including the creation and everything, of Krishna. Rachananavat Chinvandiye Anyavishaya. You listen to, you hear descriptions other than those. In other words, Vishaya means many things. It means subject matters that have nothing to do with Krishna. You become absorbed in that. And Lord knows it's easy to do. Anyavishaya, which is characterized as kukata. We know about Krishna Kata, very auspicious. But kukata means sounds that pollute your mind. Good one. And here he says, matigni, destroys your intelligence. You see? And yastu shuta, hearing those sounds, those subjects, hatabagaya, steals away all your good fortune. And this is the next word is really important. Atasadas, and destroys your interest in the essence of life, spiritual life. Yeah, atasadas. And then the dramatic ending of this verse, tam tam chapanti, these subject matters, hearing them, throw you down, chapanti, throw you, ashadaneshu, to a place of no shelter, which is dark, tamaksu, hanta, and then the last word is alas. Alas, those who indulge in this. This is what we're up against. So choosing the words that you will read, the words that you will hear, the sounds that you will hear and that you will speak, is like 90% of the process. Hearing and chanting. And that's what Prabhupada gave to give. He gave to give these wonderful books, which are nothing but concentrated sound. They're meant most potently to be read aloud. And that's where we hear them. And of course, the most blessed Hare Krishna mantra. If you just somehow or other take the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, you may not be very serious at first, but somehow or other, how many people have, I heard you guys chanting, and then I couldn't get it out of my mind, all day. So I had to come and find out, what's this all about, Very auspicious. So the chanting of the holy name, all of these words, both the English, the Sanskrit, there's a certain power in the Sanskrit. I think you can hear it. This is our salvation. This is the thread, and then it expands into everything. These temples, the deities, all are a manifestation of transcendental sound. Meaning that how do they know how to carve the deity? From Shastra. Shilpa Shastra, it's called Shilpa Shastra. And how do we know, the pictures and the Leela and the paintings, it's all coming from the sound. It's manifest. And it gives us, we can see now, we can hear, we can taste, you can feel. You remember when that lamp comes around? Even that sense, right? That's also the sense of touch is purified. So that's how, that's our process for becoming absorbed in Krishna consciousness, which is what he's describing here. Yes, Prabhu. Mohit.
Just a very fine question. When he said that in the middle you were talking about breaking the cycle.
Yes.
You can get out of this materialistic life and transcend this spiritual world. Now, if you just try on a human being,
Yes.
does that mean I attain the level that whenever I come back, if I have not achieved spiritual life, spiritual knowledge, and I always come back as a human being?
No.
Is it possible that next life I can be a Black Panther of my karma?
Yes, you could be a Black Panther, you could be a dog, you could even be an insect.
Okay, so there's no guarantee that
No guarantee. Depending on what you do, depending on your activities in this lifetime, you can definitely lose the human form of life. That's why Prabhupada refers to this verse. Where do we hear? Yeah. Neha bhikamanashosti. It's right in the second chapter, text 40, I believe. Neha bhikamanashosti pratyavayo navidyate. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. It's a very encouraging verse. Every devotee reads this, and it's right in chapter 2. Well, that's encouraging. So what it means is that in this effort of Krishna consciousness, there's no loss or diminution. All of you just come into class and be mostly hearing me read Prabhupada's book. Very auspicious. You're not going to take birth. You'll be at least a human being. You. Yeah. But anyone who doesn't have any Krishna consciousness, you risk losing the form of life. So in this effort, there's no loss or diminution, and even a little advancement, little bit of advancement, su-alpa means very small advancement, on this path protects one from the most fearful type of danger, which is losing the human form of life and having to go back down into species and come up.
So in that Hindu text 37, where Lord Arjuna was talking to Krishna to say, hey, if I cannot attain the perfection...
Yes, it's the whole passage is linked. When we read Krishna's answer, you'll see that he says something similar, more specific. He says, oh, well, you'll get born in a yogi family, or a Brahmin family, or a wealthy family. You won't have to worry so much about your maintenance. You'll have time to continue your yoga. And even without trying it, you'll be attracted to yoga. Prabhupada sometimes said, and devotees wonder, well, why am I like so much into this? And my brother, he can't even think, what's going on with you? We're born in the same family, and it just didn't take. That happened a lot. It happened to me. I tried to get my brother to chant. He said, okay, I'll try it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But he was just chanting in order to prove that it wouldn't work for him. And it didn't. Although he chanted, so a little advancement. But the point is, we all have backgrounds, different backgrounds. Some devotees, they open the Bhagavad Gita and says, I'm Keshava Bharati Maharaj. He's a very wonderful devotee. And I heard how he came. He was searching here and there. He read this, that, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, so many things. Then when he started reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, couldn't put it down. He read it in like 2 days, straight. He didn't sleep or anything. And after he finished it, he said, yeah. And he went and he joined the Hare Krishnas. Now, obviously, he had some assets from a previous life, you see. They carried forward. Your spiritual assets are carried forward. Now, your material things, they, have an effect as well. And if you don't have any spiritual assets, then those material things completely determine your fate. Some people, you have a combination. You've done some good things, but you've done some nasty things. So they're very difficult to untangle. But because you've done some Krishna consciousness, you've chanted, like this, you'll definitely be a human being. And you'll definitely have an opportunity to continue a devotional life. But why wait? Why not do it in one lifetime? If you work hard, it's possible. Back home, back to Godhead. In those early days, everyone thought, yeah, we're all going back to Godhead. It's not so easy. But it's definitely encouraging that we're making progress. Materially, no one makes progress. They just delude themselves that they're progressing. But they're just progressing in the wrong direction. Okay, we've kind of used up our time. Any other comments, questions? I'm afraid to inform you that, tomorrow, let's see, I can probably give class tomorrow. But then I'm going away for a while. First to Columbus and then to India. So pretty much the month of October is going to be shot. But I heard that Vraj Mohan, Bhakta Zak, is coming back in a couple of days to help the temple because we were so short-handed. So he's a big addition. Kirtan should be much better with all that. Oh God, I don't know. Probably at least 5 years. Yeah. Okay, so we'll read a little bit from the Upadeshamrita, which is very important. Now, does anyone remember where we are? More or less the subject matter. Utsanj, no cheating. She's looking it up. I'm just kidding. We are on a verse describing the positive things that we have to do, which will assure our advancement in Krishna consciousness. Utsahan nishchayad dharyat tartat karma pavartanat sangatyagat sato vritte shadbhi bhakti prasidyati. These first 8 verses of this Upadeshamrita, when it came out in like, I think, it was like 77 or something. And then when I moved to the big temple in New York, I was there at the 55th Street Temple, kind of a legendary temple we had for a while. we had a program where we would chant after the Bhagavatam class every morning. Everyone would chant the first 8 verses. So like there's a certain group that kind of know them very nicely. So this one, utsahan, enthusiasm, nishchayad, determination, and dharyat, patience. In the matter of tat karma pravartana, doing all the things that we are supposed to do for Krishna consciousness, and giving up those things, the positive and negative. And then sangha tyaga. Now this one is mentioned twice, both negatively and positively. So by associating with materialists, you block your devotion. But by giving up that association with sangha tyagat, you further your devotion. So that shows the emphasis on that. That's very key. Because the people and the things that you hang out with, you associate with, that affects you kind of. And sato vritte, following in the footsteps of the great acharyas, of those who have gone before. That's always a principle in anything you want to achieve. You know, I was trying to be a flute player one time, you know, and then I was, you know, interested in the life of some famous flute players, you know, can get inspiration. That's a long time ago. All right, so let's see if we can read a little bit of this. I'll shut up. Upadeshamita. Okay. So I gave you more or less the English. Endeavor executed with intelligence. So this is determination. Utsahan nishtehad daryat. Oh, this is utsaha, enthusiasm. Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. Probably gives a little definition. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. Nirbandha, Krishna sambandhe, yuktam vairagya muchyate. He's referring to the definition of yukta vairagya, which means detachment in yoga. Not just blindly giving things up, but giving them up intelligently in the process of devotional service. And that means you may have so much money, or you may have so much facility. If you use that in Krishna's service, that's real vairagya. You're detached from it for yourself, but you're attached to using it for Krishna. This is the perfection of yukta vairagya. So finding the correct means, endeavor, this is called enthusiasm. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. These activities must be executed with patience. So this is the thing, you can't be impatient. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. So Prabhupada, he had to have patience. You know, what he went through in those early days, coming, no response, living on the Bowery, you know, playing his drum on the top of the Bowery with so many people. Then he got, you know, the history, Prabhupada's living with this guy who was LSD was everywhere, so he was taking LSD. At first it was peaceful. It's a big loft. In New York they have these big lofts that you know, like 100 feet this way and 20 feet that way. So the big spaces, the artists love that, you know, they can use, so the artists love. So this was a loft. This fellow had rented it, sublet it, so he let Prabhupada stay in one corner of it. So everything was going right, okay. Prabhupada wrote back, so I have this nice student, you know, he even tried to teach him Sanskrit and this and that. But he was unstable. A young guy, you know, he dropped too much acid, and he came, and Prabhupada saw him the way he was looking. He was crazy. He was threatening Prabhupada. Prabhupada had run out of the room with practically nothing. He was on the street. He had nowhere to live. He called up one friend, and he let him stay there for a while, but the guy had, you know, was living with his common-law wife, and that didn't work out. And finally, they said, well, let's get together, and we'll rent Prabhupada a place of his own. And that's where they rented 26 2nd Avenue. And that's where it all started. But you can see how Prabhupada had to be patient. He could have got on the boat and left it and gone back to India at any time. He would even go down to the wharf and check on, you know, just to make sure that, but he never got on the boat. Thank God. So he showed by his example the patience, the enthusiasm, and the determination. Okay. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. So we have 3 things: enthusiasm, patience, and confidence. A newly married girl, so here's a very down-home example. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she can't expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. And the accounts of devotees and their lives and their struggles and how they overcame them are very important to read. Especially like we heard the story of Sharaba, which I will not recount again tonight. But, I mean, how inspiring is that? He's one of us, you know? And yet he experienced this, you know, he was so determined that he went through so many difficulties, and Krishna protected him. So if we really make an effort, we'll feel Krishna's helping us. He's giving us direction, go here, go there, and do this, you know. So that's a faith builder. The devotee must be, okay, let's see. I've already explained, one should not be idle. Okay, we're almost done. But should be very enthusiastic about executing the regulative principles. Tat tat karma pravartana. Neglect of the regulative principles will destroy devotional service. In this Krishna consciousness movement, there are 4 basic regulative principles. These are the don'ts. Forbidding illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. The devotee must be very enthusiastic about following these principles. If he becomes slack in following any of them, his progress will certainly be checked. Rupa Goswami therefore recommends tat tat karma pravartana. One must strictly follow the regulative principles of Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhis are rules and regulations. Devotional service under rules and regulations. In addition to these 4 prohibitions, yama, there are positive regulative principles, niyama. Does it ring a bell? Those are the 2 first principles of Ashtanga Yoga. Yama, niyama. There's an interaction there. There are such as the daily chanting of 16 rounds on Japamala beads. These regulative activities must be faithfully performed with enthusiasm. This is called tat tat karma pravartana, or varied engagement in devotional service. So this book was actually written mostly, you know, for his devotees. And therefore devotees were kind of surprised when they thought, well, should we print maybe 10,000 of them, Prabhupada? No, print 100,000 and distribute them on the street. I don't know, Prabhupada, but you know, it's like very internal stuff. But Prabhupada did the same thing with the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, but it really is important for us to read these. They're so practical if we really want to progress, you know. So we should get this Upadeshamrita. Okay, I'm just going to hit one thing here, and then, where is this? Upadeshamrita. There it is. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll resume tomorrow night.